Good morning, gamers. Welcome back to another amazing set review. Missing no other sets before this one. Once again, it's me and Tyler bringing you a fresh take, never seen before for. Oh, my hands are. That's supposed to... I'm fucking. Jesus Christ. That was rough. Anyways, if you want any of these cards, come on down to Mecha Games. Or come to our website, mechagames.ca or .com, I'm unsure. And of course, we have a pre-release coming up for this. Hopefully, this gets out before it. It might be this Friday. Is it this Friday, the pre-release? Are you doing that? Of course he is.
Yeah.
It's Mecha Games.
Yeah. Friday.
Yeah. It is Friday?
I think so.
Jesus. Christ almighty, some might even say. Without further ado, how do you feel about the set?
Looks pretty good. It's nice to see fewer legendaries and more instants and sorceries.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen in certain other kinds of sets.
Not to be named.
That we won't speak of in this wonderful, wonderful time we're having.
And even going on that, they put spells on creatures.
Have they?
Yeah.
There's adventure in this set?
Their newest iteration of. But if you were squinting and didn't have your glasses on, it probably looks like an adventure.
Looks like adventure in the mirror.
Yeah. They really... They can't do any more to a card unless they just... I don't know. Do like a three-way card? But that's heretical. Anyways.
VR magic. Three-dimensional cards.
Alchemy. There's that no one plays. Oh my fucking god. We're back. If I splice these two videos together. Anyways, mechagames.com, pre-release, come to it. As always, set breakdown, card cycles, high interest, medium interest, low interest, cards with the potential, pickups for Tyler and Max. You'll get the gist as we go through it. Let's just start firing it off. We got a lot of cycles this set.
That's a lot of cool cycles.
Yeah, I think we got like 5, and I cut 2 from this. But to start it off, we have the Paradigm cycles. So Paradigm, essentially, it's an epic spell if you're an old head, and you know what that means. But you just get to cast it every turn. Once you actually cast it, of course, you don't get multiple paradigms. So if you do, like, I don't know if it counts a paradigm in itself, where you can only have like one of these keep going.
I think it
on.
says this spell.
Yeah, it might be like spell name based.
But I think you could have separate ones of the same name. Because I think it just talks about this spell. Of course, we don't have the reminder text in front of us.
Style over substance. What can I say?
The paradigms do allow you to recast them for free. Cast a copy for free at the beginning of your main phase 1.
Yeah.
Right
So
you draw a card, kind of just like what you're used to doing with sagas. You'll have one of these trigger. It exiles itself the first time you cast it, to then copy from exile.
yeah. So
And it's a May, right? Some of these you might not want to do. The first at least couple here, first couple here, you might not want to do, right? Your black one is a Silent Blood effect. It's target player. You might not want to lose 2 life. You also don't want to give your opponent 2 cards most of the time. Blue one, it creates copies of creatures, but its target player creates a token copy. You might not have any creatures. So they give you maximum flexibility, lots of extra value.
oh no, it's a token of creature you control though.
That's true, but your opponent can make a copy of a creature you control. So I guess, if you have no creatures, it doesn't matter if your opponent does it. But you might not want to do these, depending.
I mean, overall, they're playable. Some of them are just like way too expensive, like the red and white one are just out of the ballpark. But I mean, like the black one seems pretty good. There's a lot of man acceleration in that color with swamps and stuff like that, and just what is that card? You play it. You like it.
Cabal coffers.
Cabal coffers.
It's not really gonna get it out early, but it is gonna let you do things like play your control game, have this great big like card draw engine in the late game, and it's gonna make it easier for you to cast Decorum Dissertation with some Cabal Coffers mana, and still have some left over to manage what your opponent is up to.
Yeah, this lets you not have to play as much card advantage in that deck.
Yeah.
Which is, lets you play more interaction, which that deck loves to do.
From a card advantage perspective, it is like very like comparable to the One Ring. It's not as broken in that it doesn't protect you.
It's like a super arena.
Yeah, I guess it's Phyrexian Arena. Now this is a lot harder to interact with.
Yeah.
And then it draws a lot more cards. Right, and you get the option of not losing the life. But like you can have situations where maybe on turn 4, after interacting for 2 or 3 turns, you're gonna like wrath your opponent, or you're gonna go like removal spell. Your opponent's gonna have a kind of weaker turn. The game's becoming lower resource. You slam one of these, and it's gonna take over the game. Right, you got to be a lot more careful with when you play it. Whereas the One Ring, you just play it and you're gonna be fine unless they have a counter spell. So it's not as broken, but there's a lot of need for these later game kind of like card advantage things for control decks. Outside of like blue white that just has a million different planeswalkers they can play. So that some options there.
Can you play that with Teferi, the Paradigm stuff?
I believe you can cast these when Teferi Time Raveler is in play because it's the beginning of your main phase that it happens. So you'd have to double, maybe not because of it. It might get into a weird thing of when the cast happens with because it's a paradigm trigger. So probably not at that point because you're trying to cast a spell while that paradigm trigger's still on the stack. Technically, it's a little bit of a weird rule situation, but
well, that's more so just
Teferi says no fun.
Yeah, that's on your opponent to figure it out, I guess. Next one we have the Emeritus Cycle. These are creatures with spells on them, with a prepared mechanic that we'll get into in a second, with cards from the original set, if you can believe it. We have, Recall, Lightning Bolts, Regrowth, Swords to Plowshares, Demonic Tutor, all, original cards from way back when. Now, of course, the problem is they cost so much mana. Some might even say too much mana to actually get any value out of it for the amount of mana you put in. And of course, there's the prepared mechanic. So some creatures, upon entering or you kind of go through certain hoops, they become prepared. Then when they become prepared, you can cast the spells that's kind of attached to them. Of course, with casting restriction. How you feel about these?
The black one just costs too much. 6 mana to Demonic Tutor, not something you're gonna want to do. Even if they printed Demonic Tutor, like I feel like people are very high on Demonic Tutor. If we had Demonic Tutor in Modern, it wouldn't be in every deck because Boros Energy doesn't want to play 3 mana for an Ocelot Pride, right? Yeah. So it really depends on what you're playing, and having an extra 4 mana, even just for the first Demonic Tutor, is way too much. Your Emeritus of Conflict, your red, Ideation, your blue have the most like immediate appeal to me, whereas Lightning Bolt on your creature, it's got first strike, it's 2/2 that blocks lots of things. It's already the kind of creature that would be played in a deck that probably plays a lot of spells. It's not any particular spells.
The problem is, though, you need 3 spells to get this online.
Right, but if you're playing like a prowess style deck where you're gonna your plan is already, especially in Modern, Expressive Iteration, Bauble plus something else. This once you're at that 4 mana mark, is sort of gonna do extra stuff. Now, this to me sounds more like a Arclight Phoenix style card for Pioneer, or maybe something in Standard, depending on how that works out, than Modern. But it's one of the more powerful ones that jump out at me. Emitters of Ideation, if we are accelerating into this, is kind of broken. I think there's room in a world where we're playing more Persist or Emperor Bones kind of mid-range reanimator, and this is so much more hardcastable than like an Archon of Cruelty. One of like you put an Archon in play for 2 mana, you're gonna probably win that game. But there's so many games where you draw it in the late game after grinding, right, or being interactive, that it's just the worst card you can draw. This is a pretty good card to draw. It's going to take some build around, but it can be a little bit more like a Quantum Riddler, and I'm going to have it in early, it's good. If I draw it late, it's good. Ancestral Recalling once is insane. If you do it again, like, that game's super over.
Yeah. I will say the green one is an elf, which can matter with like Wirewood Symbiote. So there is like some play around with that, but once again, that's like 5 mana.
Just like why do I want a regrowth?
Yeah. I mean, if you like
with hoops, right? Again, like even regrowth itself, probably, like I don't even know if that would see play like by itself anywhere.
Yeah, there's so much
right.
better.
And the white one is maybe okay, and there's lots of white mid range or low to the ground decks that might be good as well. Especially blinking stuff.
Yeah, I mean the problem is like they need a creature on board.
Yeah, it's probably very meta dependent or matchup dependent, but like that is still within the realm of playability. 4 mana 3/3 that solitude something and gives you a 1/1. That's not bad. It's not bad.
We'll see how that goes. Next we have the Elder Dragons from this plane. They do a lot of stuff, of course. With doing a lot of stuff, it costs a lot of mana. But there is one that can cost 2 at times, and another that costs 4. I like Witherbloom the most out of it. There's already like a couple of combos some people kind of cobbled together already, just because Infinity is a very good keyword just to staple onto things, making things cost 1 or 2 mana when they costed like 5 to start is usually a pretty good game plan. And it's also just a 5/5 flying death touch.
In your like Badger Mole Cub kind of style decks, where it's like Badger Mole gives you 2 creatures and an extra mana, so it's like counts as you're basically halfway there.
Yeah, that's.
Well, you get what? Like Badger Mole by itself is 2 creatures and an extra mana because your land taps for 1 extra on top of what it normally would have. So like that could very quickly turbo you into something like this. Yeah. And if you go like Dork, Badger Mole, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like it's very castable on even turn 3 maybe. It's kind of weird that it's like I need to play this density of creatures, but then also I'm trying to cast instants and sorceries. That's a little bit weird, but I mean if you have a 2 mana 5/5 with flying, it's probably going to be also pretty decent. While you are trying to maybe assemble some weird back-end combo as well. All these strike me as very expensive. Like to get where you're going, like even Silver Quill. I'm gonna have to play it, and then I'm gonna have to instant sorcery and sacrifice. Yeah. So a lot of build around.
Yeah, you kind of hope it'd be like
if they go in here.
3 mana for Silver, which would probably be a little crazy. Just be like getting it like unearthed with helping handed out.
Yeah,
is like brutal. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. We might see these pop up. Maybe not in modern, but standard might be a lot.
In your slower formats, like these have a lot more room.
Next we have the Charms. These are pretty good for the
These are all awesome.
Yeah, we haven't seen Charms playable in a long time, and these ones are probably pushed as almost as far as they can get.
They could push them further.
Should they?
Yes. Yes. They printed Kozilek's Command. Give me more Broken Choose spells.
Anyways, I'm liking Witherbloom Charm a lot. just having kill 2 mana or less problems is pretty good, and just like that's so many things like that. We have
Kills a Flip to Johnny, it kills Steel Cutter, it kills Belias, it kills all the pesky one drops that are running around.
Needle.
Yeah, typically your hate pieces in Modern have to be 1 or 2 mana.
Yeah, especially
3 mana tends to be too high. Sometimes you see like Ashiok's running around, but that's not for decks that usually play a charm like this. And Ashiok's pretty bad in my estimation.
Yeah, you don't care about Ashiok when you untap.
Right. Yeah, Witherbloom Charm seems really good. Honestly, all of these seem.
Yeah, especially like Lorehold. I've been trying to push it for like our Boros players, because just like in my head, just getting a Johnny back at instant speed, blocking with the 2-1, just flipping him for your turn, can be like pretty good. Even if like you don't want to do that, you just have sacrifice an artifact, which some decks can like just get like a major hate piece out against you game 1 or game 2, and like you're kind of stuck dealing with it.
Yeah.
And then also just putting +1/+1 on like your 5 cats and giving them just so much stats.
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna have some relevance at any turn. Something like Prismari Charm, probably more standard side, just the power level of its interaction being just bounce something rather than remove something, or deal 1 damage to 1 or 2 things. But Surveil 2 plus draw a card, it's always going to be relevant, and then you have these other little nudges here and there to affect your board state. Silver Quill Charm, like exile a creature with power 2 or less, is decent enough. Other effects, not quite as good, but 2 counters on a creature might just trade up or something.
Yeah, out of like all these, like maybe not Quandrix Charms, like the kind of the 2.
If you were looking to play a quench effect in those colors, like it's just kind of better, but other than that, it's okay.
Yeah, that one's just a little too narrow, unfortunately, but it's still
like Simic like infect decks.
Yeah,
that's like quite good. Usually they're Simic, but yeah, Witherbloom and Lorehold kind of taking the cake here.
Next we have High Interest cards that I feel are going to do some pretty good work, or at least try to. I'd say Ral is a step above these ones. I kind of just had to fill the space personally, but because a lot of the high interests were just like in the cycles, which kind of conflicting interests. But anyways,
yeah, your cycles have a lot of cool things going on.
Ral Zarek, 3 mana Planeswalker, with just do whatever you want, do whatever you need to do this turn. Card selection, hand disruption, an unearth on it, and then for 7 loyalty, just if you're a combo deck, you just win.
And like it's a 7 mana ultimate on your 3 mana Planeswalker. It's probably gonna win the game.
Yeah, which is like this essentially says if you're playing against control, you just tank, you just 1-for-1 with your opponent as much as possible, and then your opponent has to fight through like 2 to 3 turns of just.
I mean, like even if we take it like on average, it's like my opponent, like what I lose 2 turns, so what my opponent draws 2 cards, doubles or triples their mana for a turn, and plays 2 extra lands. Like you're just falling way too far behind. If this guy somehow is living, or they just play another one, which would be probably pretty easy at that point, they're gonna just go discard a card, discard a card, discard a card. If you have cards left at this point in the game, you're gonna be left with really nothing left.
Yeah, especially with like Yogg decks, because they can just like proliferate it, like they can do it like immediately when it comes down. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but I really love the idea of, you go Frog or Looting or 2 mana Looting or whatever, you put an Oculus or whatever else you're trying to unearth, you play this turn 3, you are putting a valuable Planeswalker into play and that threat. It's going to be hard to kill, especially with an Oculus. It's probably 2 bodies that they got to get through and still hit this. And if they do get through all that, some people are very upset when their Planeswalkers die after they do like their main thing or after they come down. it buys you so much tempo against the decks that are able to put enough pressure into play to kill your planeswalkers that you are often happy. Like, that's an extra turn and a half sometimes. And if they're able to deal with everything you're doing, you, again, like if you go Frog, play this Unearth Oculus, and they're still kind of dealing with that, you're probably in a low resource game that you want to be in like these kind of Dimir decks.
Mm-hmm. Like it does one of the things that's most important for Planeswalkers is it protects itself.
Yeah. It needs some more setup than something like Liliana the Veil has, but it also like comes down. Minus is you can have yourself discard something you want to unearth. Turn 4, we're unearthing with this guy, and similar thing where he is a setup and a payoff for your kind of unearth plans, which adds a lot of consistency. If your opponent leaves it around, you're just going to be surveilling too, which is going to add a lot of consistency. These are decks that play very poorly from behind typically, and this is probably going to shore up a lot of those weaknesses. Not busted, but it might bring those archetypes back a little bit.
Next we have Slumbering Trudge. 1 mana 6/6, so not the biggest we've seen as of late, but it's still 6/6, and unfortunately it does enter with stun counters. So it enters with 3, and then for each mana you put into additionally, it gets 1 less. So for 4 mana you get 6/6, but even those like playing like turn 1 or 2 isn't too bad. And just like having it there. Also,
there's cards that care about you having high power or toughness in play or entering play, and so this might be a nice little almost quick cantrip that
goes crazy with the Oculus.
Gets better later. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, there is the like Simic Ritual deck.
Yeah, and that's like it's unfortunately that there's no way to like cheat this into play without it getting the stun counters because it's a ETB. But
there's other ways to use like a 6, because unlike
it certainly stands out.
Death Shadow or Moon Shadow, this is always just a 6/6. There isn't hoops to kind of get it to its full power.
Yep.
This just starts off. It just the downside is in a different outing, which can matter sometimes for like fling style effects or like things that can matter about
or fighting maybe.
Yeah.
There's like fight rigging in cards like this where it's like it might just be good to have before you play that, and then you can cast your hideaway things.
Or just like copying it from the graveyard with like woodland if like you need the situation. It's interesting. Probably not.
It's probably not doing anything, but it's like a card to have on your radar because like it might just find the right slot somewhere and be an impressive card.
Next, for cards that might fit in slots, we have Postmortem Professor, 2 mana 2/2 creature can't block because of course it can.
Never can.
I know, it's so tilting. Whenever this creature attacks, each opponent loses a life, you gain a life, and then 1 in a black, exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, return this card from the graveyard to the battlefield. So we've gotten a couple of these lately.
They love creating these like diddly little black creatures that just keep coming back.
Yeah.
I think the fewer hoops you have to jump to, probably the better. So this is maybe not as good as more recent ones.
Yeah,
but
there's like Timeline Color, which I found to be pretty good, and then what it did especially is it went into Warp. You just can't touch it a lot, which is kind of good for graveyard decks. This one is pretty interesting still, though. 2 mana is a lot. Like just looking at your Bloodghast, Timeline Color, Graveyard, Gravecrawler.
Yeah, you want them to be 1 mana, 0 mana.
Yeah, just
0 mana if it's a hoop. 1 mana
this was
without.
like 1 mana. This like completely changes like Soul Trade just because like how versatile it is. But still like 2 mana. This just lets you play like a more grindy option. This does essentially swing for 3 damage every turn, and then can like be sacked, brought back in instant speed. So your flares.
It's a 4-point swing. You gain a life.
It's not too bad, especially like the life game for the combo decks. Just getting that in.
I think they've given it maybe a little bit more than other
If it
cards
could-
like this in the past.
If
but
it could be, if it
the
could
cost
block,
is there, right?
it would be all like leagues above what is right now.
Yeah.
Just have
Yeah.
like an instant speed blocker.
They don't want people upset about, the cat that keeps coming back and blocking their creature and then comes back again and blocks their creature as they slowly die.
It's beautiful.
This isn't even like drain you when it enters.
I know. It's,
They could have let this block.
They could have done a lot of things, but there's always next set.
They could have given round 2+1s.
Next, speaking of 1/1s, Hardmice Trio, 1-mana Merfolk, as the saying goes. This has tap itself, tap 2 untapped creature control. This creature becomes prepared, and then, dare I say, Brainstorm is its a prepared spell. I think this card's good. I know people aren't too happy about it. 1/1
I
for
hate
1.
tapping my creatures for extra costs.
But what if there's like a Deep Root Pilgrimage on the board? That's pretty epic.
That card needs to make a token for every creature you tap.
Well, this makes 2. Because this is 2 different instances of taps.
Well, no, it makes 1 per round of triggering.
does it?
You'd have to tap them separately, I think, to trigger it
Doesn't
for
this
each
tap
one.
separately? Because it taps itself and then it.
No, because they're all happening at the same time.
Oh yeah, that's a lot worse then. It's Brainstorm. That's a pretty good card for Merfolk. So maybe medium interest. First we have a 10-mana colorless spell. Surely these don't cause problems for a certain deck. This one probably won't.
Frame thing is, it's like not even a good Ugin's Labyrinth card.
Yeah.
Costs 1 less for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. And then when it attacks, you can cast one of them for free. You can flash it back for free. You're going to need lots of instant sorceries, but
I mean, there is like Spellslinger
definitely
decks,
decks.
Prowess, but I kind of just choose at its own graveyard pretty consistently.
yeah, I mean, this is going to, like, the imagining here would be more like,
Like Demir.
is it control or something like that? Like your wizard controls,
Dude,
where maybe you have a
it's your
couple
new
creatures.
Murktide.
Well, the thing is, like,
It has reach.
yeah, the thing with this one is, like, we can Arena of Glory it, attack, and then we can cast, like, Allurian Revealed and draw 3 cards. Or cast one of our
You can
spells.
arena if you have 9 or less.
That's true. That's a little, like, awkward there, but, I mean, if you're slamming this for 0 mana, you're not going to complain
Yeah.
either. But as, like, a top end, I mean, there was a guy running around playing, like, a random, it was like a 5 mana 7/5 that did 2 damage when creatures entered. He was playing 2 of them in his wizard control deck. This seems way better of an option for something like that, because even if you're doing it at that kind of turn 5 point,
wait. It was a
it's gonna
turtle,
be-
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that was just because like his pet had the same name.
Yeah, and like this
It
was
was
like a pet
literal
card,
pet deck.
but this guy like put up some shocking results considering the card he was playing.
The fun
And this
of
is like an
one.
actual playable card in comparison.
Next, we have, oh boy, a 3-mana board wipe. We love those so much. Of course, there is a small hoop you need to gain life, but there's a couple lands that just do it on ETB or tap, so that's not too hard.
Its floor, it's good against decks like Boros still.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're playing black, like you can have these turn 4s where it's like, I'm going to Cling to Dust your Flage, I'm going to Wrath everything else. I'm like, the game is like not
Back to
over,
square
but
one,
like
baby.
you're now exactly where you want to be as a black
Yeah.
control deck against a deck like Boros Energy. There's also like I've seen people floating lists of like Golgari control in standard with a lot of the really powerful instants and sorceries we're getting. And yeah, you can play. You have the tap gain 1 life lands that you can play. Turn 4 Wrath is exactly where you expect to be.
Next we have Erode, 1-mana white, instant, destroy target creature, planeswalker. Your opponent gets a basic land from their deck, puts on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. This is our Swords Plowshare that hits your Planeswalker, which is pretty
Path
cool.
to Exile is what you're
Path to
looking for.
Exile.
Hits Planeswalkers, but it destroy instead of exile.
Yeah, so protection spells are a little better against this.
Yeah, the relevance will be against like Reanimator decks, cards like Flage sometimes, Agatha Soul Cauldron decks. Path to Exile, not a card you typically want to play generally, but the fact that you can hit Planeswalkers, it is a meaningful upgrade.
Yeah, Flip It Johnny is such a problem for a lot of decks.
Yeah. Also, Wan Shi Tong is a card that's running around right now in Standard, where an effect like this might be more valuable, and the downside might be a lot less than in Modern. But if you're 1 mana destroy a creature or Planeswalker, yes, it gives your opponent a land, but if they choose to do that, you draw a card because you have Wan Shi Tong in play and it gets a counter. You're probably way, way, way happier with that exchange.
Mm-hmm. Next, we have Flashback, which gives an instant sorcery card in your graveyard. Flashback.
It's 1 mana, it's an instant. It really couldn't be better than that, unless they gave it Flashback itself, which would be maybe a little silly.
I mean,
this is a super cool card.
It's gonna be pretty.
Ruby Storm,
more,
maybe.
Yeah.
Outside of that, like Snapcaster Mage isn't that great. Could probably be pretty good in like Standard or Pioneer, but it isn't in those formats. Snappy's okay. This might just be a very good flex slot card in Ruby Storm, where instead of playing those like couple 1-drops of your choice, you just play this, and it like, okay, I'll pay 3 mana for my ritual or 2 mana for my ritual if I have the reducer or one of the many card advantage spells, and it's just be either or a lot easier for 1 extra mana.
Mm-hmm.
That might be just good enough to fill in those slots that are kind of uncertain in Ruby Storm. But otherwise, it's not doing too much. It's a super cool design, though.
There could be like, there's also like some spells that get bonuses when you cast them from graveyard for Flashback, which can matter, but I don't think
they usually already have Flashback, and this doesn't give you like a reduced cost. Well, sometimes I guess they sometimes cost more on the Flashback.
like additional.
So
effects.
this is a way to work around that. That's very interesting.
We have Geometer's Arthropod for Simic, a 1/4 absolute tank. Whenever you cast a spell with X in its mana cast, look at the top X cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. There's no big like X decks. There's like hardened scales.
There's a few X spells in this set that are like pretty solid. There's another one on this slide. Might just be a future thing.
Yeah, I mean there's
that it's like
there's like
with
the
a high enough concentration.
The tutor spells that we see play, like, you know, we have Cathartic Reunion, we have Green Suns, and like Chord as well, which can matter with this because this isn't green, which is kind of the color requirement of it. So just getting like 2 cards into your hand, one on the battlefield, one in your hand is pretty nice.
Yeah. Even if it just says a draw 1 card.
It's also just a 1/4 for 2 mana.
Yeah.
Just a roadblock if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, you'll block Oslo Pride, they'll discharge it, and then first strike damage, and you'll be pretty sad as a player of 2 mana 1/4s. But if they don't have it, by God.
I know. And then the crab, which is pretty cool. Next we have Pet. Oh.
You guys are filming.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds.
You're going to get us demonetized.
Yeah.
We're making money on these?
We get some views. We'll go band for band for your set review.
Mine's got more views than any of your set reviews combined.
It has?
Yes.
How much is that right now?
More than yours.
He's paying.
Thanks for watching, guys.
He's paying for advertisement. He sold out. Anyways.
He pays for YouTube.
Yeah. Petrified Hamlet. This is good against kind of Titans sometimes. This doesn't just Blood Moon a land specifically, unfortunately. But getting rid of activated abilities, your Shifting Woodlands, your Boseiju, your Tolarian, the 20 million other lands Titan plays. Just getting rid of some of the hate is nice.
I see what they were going for with this land. I think they were. I think they had way, way, way too much holding them back in the power of this card because there's just too many it's just too narrow in too many ways. The fact that I get it when it enters, you choose it's an ETB to choose something your opponent can respond to you before you pick a name, right? It's not just like it's in play now, just because you can't respond to lands, but it doesn't remove anything other than activated abilities for lands. Like, it doesn't make them only tap for a color. So it seems very ineffectual against most things. It's like, I'm gonna stop an Urza Saga, I guess. But this is also a terrible land to be playing in your deck. You don't want to play colorless lands, even in monocolored deck.
Yeah, if there's like a full-on like shutout, that would have been nice. But
yeah, if it like turn something into a waste, that's a lot different.
C'est la vie.
Yeah, you'll tell your Boris opponent that they can't, haste something with Arena of Glory, and then you will have a land that might be awkward to play as a drop on 1 or 2, and they're
this
more than
lets
happy.
You Arena. Arena's a mana ability.
This card sucks. This card's unplayable.
If it had like the dowsing stir, it's called, where just like you can't generate additional mana with the card, that wouldn't be too bad.
Card's unplayable.
Anyways, next to a more playable card, Scheming Silvertongue. 1 mana, 1/3 flyer, lifelink. Beginning your second main phase, gain 2 or more life this turn. This creature becomes prepared, and it has Sign in Blood. Gee golly, you love Sign in Blood, don't you?
I'm chill with Sign in Blood. Sign in Blood's kind of meh nowadays, but the fact that you can do it repeatedly, the fact that it's stapled to a creature, certainly makes it more appealing. Getting that 1 extra life to turn this on is going to be maybe a little awkward, but it gets you halfway there.
You just play like Storm.
Yeah, you could play a card like Sorin from MH3. I mean, it goes along with your Cling to Dusks, but you could also just cling a non-creature and draw a card anyways. In Modern, it's probably way too much is going on to get you there, but in Standard, in your more control-y or mid-range decks, this might make the cut and might grind out your opponent.
Next, we have Traumatic Critique, X, blue, and red. It's essentially says draw 2 cards and discard a card, and then the X part just lets you deal damage to something. So this could be good in a couple of good decks.
I think it's a really, really good card.
Yeah, it's even like Storm playable too. This gives you like the outlet, you even make enough mana, you can just pop someone.
Could be solid there, especially if you want to go splash blue in your storm decks. There's a couple of reasons you can do that. Especially going blue is also a way you can go a little bit more prowessy or mid-rangey with your storm deck, which is interesting. Obviously, this lends to that. I think this is just. I think this is a draw 2, discard a card that sometimes will kill something or sometimes fireball your opponent. So maybe in control decks this might be decent, especially if you want to discard a cards, but it flips Tameo on turn 2 very consistently. That's a great reason to play this card. Don't get bogged down on the deal X damage. It draws 2 and then discards 1 card for 2 mana at instant speed. This is largely better than Tadin Indulgence, except for the fact that you're not in black, which you typically want to be with these kind of graveyard setup cards. But it is, I would say, largely better in Indulgence. You can sometimes not discard a card, but sometimes that's downside on that card
Yeah.
even. The fact that this is an instant is crazy to me, and I'm happy they did that, because this makes this an awesome card that you will absolutely see in the decks that want this kind of effect.
Mhm. Next, we have a Wild Growth Archaic for 2/green pips. So either 2 mana, 3 mana, or 4 mana. Trample, reach 0/0, and then it has Converge. This creature enters with a 1 counter for each color of mana spent to cast it. So it's either 1/1, or 1/1 to a 4/4.
Yeah, it can be 1, 3, or 4.
And then it gives the converge ability to all your other creatures that come in after. It's pretty strong. This is, however, kind of in a weird spot. There's no like big green stompy decks I can think of that could use this. There's like Badger Mole decks.
And the funny thing is, like, you need to be like 3 or 4 colors.
Yeah.
And then the creatures you have to play have to be this weird thing where they, like, you don't want double pips ever. So more generic is obviously going to be better, or if they're just split the right way in their pips. But it's something that could maybe snowball out of control if you have the right arrangement of creatures and the right curve.
It'll be a draft bomb, which is always a fun thing. So we'll see where that thing ends up. Next, we have a Cauldron of Essence, 1 black and green. For an artifact, whenever a creature control dies, each opponent loses a life, you gain a life. And then for the same cost, you tap, sacrifice a creature, turn target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. It's a good aristocrat effect. 3 mana, 2 to 3 mana is kind of like where you're looking for it, with like the plus side being on the 3 mana. Like your Sephiroth, the Warp guy from Edge of Eternities, etc., etc. 3 mana is a decent bit for this. You do just get whatever you want from it. So yeah, like your Trolls of Khazad-dûm.
There's 6 mana, sacrifice a creature to actually get something out, but I mean, we're living in a Badger Mole Cub world where you can have a lot of extra mana pretty quickly in these kind of green creature decks. You can sacrifice the land and it's going to come back. It's not that big of a downside at that point. And then maybe you put something in play, but maybe you just put an extra combo piece in play. Maybe you put in your Soul Traders, your Yawgmoths.
Yeah.
Maybe you do have something bigger here and there.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I think if it was like 1 mana less, it would be good.
Yeah, if it was like 2 mana tap, maybe.
Yeah, then
or
that's
2 mana to play, 3 mana to activate.
Oh, if it's 2 mana to play, that'd be amazing. That'd be cool. But anyways, enough about that.
Hoping and praying.
Hoping and praying. We have Follow the Lamorettes for 1 and a green. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land from among them, put it into hand. If you gain life this turn, you may put 2 creatures and or lands from among them to the rest of the bottom library in a random order. We've seen a couple treasure effects. This kind of has the same framework of it. You're looking at 4, you put 1 into hand. And then the upside for this one is you put 2 potentially in. Of course, you don't get that. You don't put the rest into the grave, which kind of sucks, but you do get twice a card sometimes.
Yeah. In your creature heavy decks, this is going to be good. You are going to want a decent number of creatures so you can consistently hit 2 creatures and or lands. The fact that they throw lands in there is nice as well. Makes it so that it's probably not going to be too narrow, but hard to say how often you're going to be able to gain that life.
This is a stock up with 1 less card usage, which is pretty cool for green, but
if you can gain that life, right?
Infusion is
big question.
A razor's edge to see if it's playable or not, I feel. We have low interest next. We have Aziza, Mage Tower Captain for Boros 2/2. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, you may tap 3 untap creature control. If you do copy that spell, you may choose new targets for the copy. Copying spells is pretty good. This isn't once per turn, which is notable. Of course, this is 3 creatures, was quite a demand for doubling, but there's certain scenarios you can get yourself
There might be
into.
like a Boros Convoke deck that has like the right instant or sorceries that you're incorporating in there, and then you're instant or sorcery that doubles your tokens or creates 2 or 3 tokens, suddenly makes twice as many, worth tapping 3 untapped creatures, and then you can maybe convoke something else, or you just untap and you have so much, you play that sort of pump your board spell, and the game's over. Might have a place somewhere there.
Next, we have Dina's Guidance for 1 and a Golgari instant. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put into your hand or graveyard, then shuffle.
Pretty crazy that this is instant speed. You get your Entomb for 3 mana, or it can just go to your hand.
That is a good point.
Probably very good for if you're trying to play any reanimation style decks in standard, where you can still interact if you need to. You get that flexibility. I don't know what creature that you're happy to put in hand or graveyard, but there's maybe something like this next sort of grave researcher that you might want to grab.
Yeah, I mean, it
to
also like
try
lets
to
you set
reanimate
up
with.
your Superior Spider-Man if you need.
That's true. That's a
part
good
A
card
or
to
part
put in your
B.
hands. Right, so that can be your reanimation spell the following turn that curves 3 into 4 nicely.
Or the creature it goes into.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, it's just
Gets you either half of your A plus B.
problem is I just look at this and go, we have Formidable Speaker, and like it puts the creature you want into bin if it's in hand. It's
Yeah,
a
for your more
2/4
low to the
body.
ground stuff.
It untaps a land and it does every part of this card. It can do both parts, which is like pretty good, and then just like a 2/4 body for 3 mana is still not bad.
Mhm.
And sometimes it untaps a very important land too, and you kind of get
Yeah,
value
it's
out
not
of that
breaking
way.
into your Yogs or Soul Trader decks, but
Standard maybe.
standard. If you like playing Reanimator, who knows how good that will be or how consistent, but if you like playing that, you're going to want to pick these up.
Next, we have Grave Researcher. 3 mana, 3/3, beginning your upkeep, surveil 1. Then, if there's 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard, this creature becomes prepared and has reanimates. You just put a target creature card from a graveyard, any graveyard, on the battlefield under your control, losing a life equal to its card mana value. Reanimate's a very good spell, banned in a lot of places for various obvious reasons. Only problem is you need to untap with this thing, and you need to go through a hoop. And
It's way too slow for Modern. Playing your 3-drop with 3 toughness does nothing else right away. Sucks in Modern, right? 30% of the format's playing Flage. They're happy to see you tap out for something like this, because they're going to play their Flage, they're going to set up their most powerful card, they're going to get exactly the trade they're looking for, and you're going to be miles behind.
even if you let go of this at turn 2, you still need. Like, this essentially says like Stitchers in like with Phyrexian Tide.
Even
like,
on
the
turn
only
2,
playable.
if you're on the draw, it can still be flaged. Those decks are also like Galvanic Discharges everywhere as well.
Just
Like it's this is just such a hard card to untap with in Modern, and that's before you get 3 creature cards in your graveyard. This could maybe fit in those creature heavy graveyardy combo decks. You're not reanimating anything big though, which is probably not enough payoff on a card with so many hoops.
yeah. We have Great Hall of the Biblioplex. Colorless mana, taps 4. Pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any colors from this mana to cast an instant sorcery. And for 5 mana, if this land isn't a creature, becomes a 2/4 wizard creature with prowess, essentially. Animating lands isn't always a bad option, especially if this doesn't come in taps, which is like a major drawback usually for the creature lands.
For your like instant and sorcery heavy decks, it's a rainbow land that you don't always have to pay life. You can always tap it for a colorless. So if you're playing this, you're probably paying life a lot. But hard to argue like paying a life in like a deck like that, because it sounds like it's more of a control deck.
Yeah,
But
like,
in
this is like
standard, it could be worthwhile depending on
You like a
your splashes.
potential prowess deck, just because you don't really care about your life pool,
Mm-hmm.
and
Get a 3rd color more comfortably in like a standard prowess deck.
that's all just if you run out of creatures, which like the deck can do, just because there's like the variance,
Yeah,
it's always an issue. Just having something that we
it's a
can,
little bit of flood insurance.
and like a 2/4 that just like pumps pretty nicely is always nice. So we will see what happens to that one. Next, we have Hardened Academic for Boros. Flying Haste 2/1. Discard a card. The creature gains lifelink until end of turn. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, put a counter on target creature control. For a lot of these style of cards, usually the payoff is in the discard effect. That's where you get most of the value. This kind of either supplements it or can just like be kind of gravy on top, which I find pretty interesting. Like a 2/1 flyer with haste isn't a bad place to start as well. Especially you have like ways to just immediately start getting it online with getting cards out of your graveyard pretty fast. So getting this like the turn you play it and like exiling 2 different cards, turns into like a 4/3, isn't like out of like the realm of possibility, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, like having a free discard outlet on something that is like on a 2-mana creature is just insanely cool to see. It's gonna be hard to beat out like a card like Psychic Frog, where if that's still legal where you play. But maybe there's a reason we would rather be red, white, and black. Maybe we want to be Mardu instead.
Yeah.
It opens you things to like Faithless Looting, which is a card that's a little bit underplayed in
There's like
modern.
Dark Phoenix, which this can do stuff with.
Yeah. Or yeah, like are those? It's there's reasons not to be Esper, right? Or just blue black plus whatever else you're trying to play. Maybe not, but maybe again there's like a Boros like artifact formation deck. Like red often gets and white even often get these kind of bring artifacts back. Maybe there's something there you want to do and that tightens up your mana base and makes that actually possible.
Mm-hmm. Next we have Pensive Professor. So for 1 blue, you get a 0/2 with increments. Essentially, it's whenever you cast a spell, if this creature's power is less than the CMC, it gets a counter. And of course, the effect it has whenever it's counter, draw a card. These effects are pretty good. We have like VV in some formats. So getting like a VV effect onto this is pretty crazy, where you just like it just pumps itself naturally. You draw a bunch of cards, and then you hold in a VV, put a counter on it, draw a card, activate it, and then start cycling again with it.
Yeah, you can combine your card advantage and your mana advantage with like the Soul Cauldron, or just other ways you can find to put counters on this, and you'll just cast spells and put counters on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
3 mana is a little tough. Like this is going to be
Yeah, it's
3
hard.
mana. Don't let me untap with this is always a tough space to be.
Usually tap with it.
You're not going to untap with this in your more interactive formats, so it might have a place in one of these kind of cool Bumblebee decks. It's going to be a little narrow, maybe.
We shall see. Cards of Potential. These are a little harder to kind of garner, but maybe, just maybe. Starting off with Comforting Counsel, 1 in a green. Whenever you gain life, put a growth counter on this. Then when you have 5 or more, creatures control get +3/+3. This can be pretty good. There is like Samwise decks where just like, or like Jaeger decks, even like weird Ocelot Pride decks, the Guide of Souls, can like do this like fairly consistently. It's just getting like 5 triggers of life gain isn't that hard for those decks.
The difficult thing is just going to be like it's not doing anything otherwise.
Yeah,
Just
just
a very dead top deck.
doing the catch up with the card is
You're-
kind of the problem.
Yeah, like it's maybe a little win more and just that like, oh, I've developed this thing that doesn't really do much, and then eventually when I'm doing the things I'm already trying to do, I'm going to be winning more.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, 4 mana 1/1s is pretty crazy sometimes. Next we have Mana Sculpt. Every time you read this card, it just gets worse. You only get mana equal to the amount of spent to cast it, so countering opponent's force, a solitude. Uh, you get nothing.
Yeah, it's a little sad that they didn't let it just be mana drain when you have a wizard, like fully mana drain. But this is maybe still going to find its way into
I feel like a one of.
your like it's not out of the question to play like maybe a couple of these in your wizard control decks in modern. I mean they sometimes and more so in the past have played invert polarity. There's a 3 mana counter spell. Sometimes you gain control of the spell instead.
There was a very
that was a lot better
card
during the One Ring era. But like it's not out of the question to play these like cancel effects with upside sometimes. And like you're gonna play Tameo. This is gonna just let you crack clues for free. So sometimes it's gonna be counterspell, draw 1, 2, maybe more cards.
Next we have Moment of Reckoning. So for 3 white, black sorcery, choose up to 4. You may choose the same mode more than once. Destroy target non-land permanent or return target non-land permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is a very expensive spell. However, if it resolves, you are
game over.
Yeah, this is just kill 2 things, bring back 2 solitudes, kill 2 more things, and just
it's maybe like 1 mana too much for being like a standard reanimator card, but then again, maybe those decks are able to be slow enough, controlly enough, or maybe this is just a 1 of or 2 of in the top end of your control deck. Especially if you have ways to, get this out of your hand when you need to, or not have it be as bricky as it will be a lot of the time. But if you do resolve this, I mean, I think they're playing that 7 mana Jeskai spell, like some of these control decks in standard.
Yeah.
So like this could be a way to go that way, just in different colors.
Yeah, like any way this like you need this to resolve, it does pretty well. Like if you had nothing in graveyard, at least you can just like board wipe your opponents, get rid of like anything that's like hitting your graveyard they have. If it's an empty board, you just bring back 4 creatures that you really want, and you just have a huge board state. It's gonna be a draft all-star, I can already tell. And then next we have Mozio of Veins Nudine, 2 and a black, flying 2/1. Whenever this enters, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token. With whenever this creature attacks, you gain a life. It has infusion. So at the beginning of your end step, at the amount of life you gain, you can return a creature with that mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield, which is pretty good. This card probably had the old pest on it, which makes a lot more sense for kind of playability. I don't. The things they did to pass this says it's a sad
I mean, the
affair.
reason they made it an attack instead of a die trigger is just that it's going to make it more consistent to like turn on your infusion with the pests, which is really the reason why. The pest is the enabler to set up rather than you needing some kind of way to kill it to set up, which is kind of 2 hoops instead of 1. I mean, this seems actually like quite a good spell. I may be a little bit higher on this. If you're gonna play like a Samwise combo deck, right, where you have a little bit more life gain in your creature-based combo deck, or Guide of Souls, dare I say.
Guide of Souls just gets you 2 life immediately when this comes down, which is pretty nice.
There's a lot of playing around with playing Guide Pride and then like the more creature combo side of things.
Mardu Legend,
in
Mardu
white,
Boros Energy comes
in this
back.
case black, yeah, or just straight up Mardu Energy. But like the fact that you're gonna play this, you have a Guide of Souls, you're gonna bring back a 1 or 2 drop very easily on the next turn, at least a 1 drop per. And again, Guide is gonna continue that, Pride's gonna continue that. You're gonna play like Cauldron Familiar, right, in your Samwise decks.
This lets you potentially get Samwise back and then just combo off, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, like a lot of possibility. And then you just have a 2/1 with flying that's doing this, where, right, like these decks like to do. Sometimes they durdle, and you interact with the important things, but they're still putting other stuff in play. And there's 2 power hitting you every turn.
Mm-hmm. These are my pickups. Reanimate, and Toolbox. boy golly gee, do I love throwing the new cards into Soul Trader and seeing what sticks.
Withering Charm is sick.
Yeah.
I feel like some people like are hating on this a little bit in the fact that it's just like because it says Game 5 Life is one of the lines.
Yeah.
I think that's better than what most people think it is, and then it also has the other two are some of the best on this whole cycle. So you can take a little bit of an L there, but in fact that you will at one point use and be thankful that it is there.
Yeah, like with like the Soul Trader loop, that's just 10 damage right there.
Yeah, or like it's like half a fog.
Yeah, or even with Mozio, that's just a five mana guy that just comes back, which can be
Or
pretty
if
good.
you want to try to play like Sorin of House Markov, that flips him, and then he minuses and deals 5 damage.
Mhm.
Right.
The world's my oyster with the 2 mana instant, and of course,
The terms is very flexible. Ral is very flexible.
Fester's a zombie. I like getting Gravecrawler back whenever I need it. This helps me do it. And
More zombie.
Yeah.
Fewer problems.
probably gets shuffled out for the next creature we get that comes back from the graveyard, but we'll see. And then we have Tyler's.
Yeah, I'm happy to play black mid-range and control. So I'm just trying to pick up the most powerful cards. We got some good black mythics this time, for once. I think these are going to be maybe even underrated. I'm not expecting them to break anything, but I think they're going to be quite good in the homes that they find. And then Flashback, I'm excited to try out in Storm and just see if that is the best little flex piece. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's going to be a continual thing of nobody still knows what that is.
That's 2 more
But-
flips you lose with a Rowler, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, like it adds to your Storm, which so does everything. But yeah, an extra Ral thing. Or like an interesting spot is sometimes you play your Prismatic Ending or your removal spell of choice, and your opponent just windmills second hate piece. Flashback means more consistency. Like Flashback is like I'm imagining it's just a modal spell for all the different things that you need to be doing in Storm. Pay 1 extra mana to do more what you want more often.
Also, it sets your pass and flame better against hate, just because it lets you kind of nitpick in your graveyard, so they're kind of forced to either hit it there or let some value escape for you, which can be pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's not like graveyard hate that like hurts you too much when you play a card like this right now, because it's a very all or nothing kind of graveyard hate meta.
yeah. We're not seeing like
Outside of Cling to Dust, I guess, if you run into Dimir control, maybe.
yeah, but they're clinging to us. They got nothing. They're done for the day.
Yeah.
But that's it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed our beautiful set review, and we hope to see you again. Have a nice day.